Okay, just think about your morning for a second. The coffee you drank, the phone you checked, the clothes you put on. Every single one of those things went on an absolutely epic journey to get to you. Today, we're going to unpack the incredible history of world trade, from a simple swap between neighbors to the complex global network that, well, pretty much runs our lives.
And here's the thing, that journey isn't random at all. It's actually part of a story that's thousands of years old. So let's trace back those invisible threads that connect the items in your room to the very beginning of global exchange. All right, so let's start at the very beginning. We're talking long before money or apps or even shipping lanes existed. Back then, trade was about one thing and one thing only: survival. And it began with the absolute simplest form of exchange you can imagine. Yep, this right here, bartering. This is ground zero. Picture this. You've got way more grain than your family can eat, but you desperately need a stronger axe. While your neighbor, he's got extra axes, but he's short on grain. What do? It's so simple, right? You just trade. It's a direct swap, a total win-win that became the bedrock for, well, all of commerce. And this slide, wow, it just nails the revolutionary impact of that one simple idea. I mean, look, on the left, you've got life without trade. It's basically every person for themselves, a constant grind just to survive. But then, on the right, with trade, something amazing happens. People can actually specialize, you know? You get really good at making tools, I get really good at farming. We trade, and bam, suddenly both of us have more stuff and better stuff. That was the spark. That's what really kicked off human progress. And of course, this simple act of swapping, it didn't just stay in the neighborhood for long. Oh no, it scaled up, big time, creating the very first massive trade networks. We're talking about early exchanges along the Nile and in Mesopotamia, which then evolved into the legendary Silk Road, a network stretching clear across Asia. Then you had Roman ships basically turning the Mediterranean into a trade superhighway. And later on, cities like Venice and Timbuktu, they became the world's first true global marketplaces. Okay, and this is a really key point. The Silk Road wasn't just about silk. Not at all. It was about moving ideas. Think about it. Along with spices, you had caravans carrying Buddhism all the way from India to China. Along with silk, they carried the Chinese invention of paper to the West. It was literally the original information superhighway, and believe me, it changed the world just as much as any physical product ever did. All right, so for centuries, trade was all about the land. But then, a revolution in shipbuilding and navigation changed everything. The world's big trading powers started looking away from the dusty roads and out towards the vast open ocean. And in doing that, they didn't just find new routes, they literally redrew the map of the world. Which leads us to this huge question. So what happens when the world gets bigger? I mean, this question really marks a massive turning point in our story. Because when a whole new continents were suddenly plugged into the global network, the scale, the speed, the very nature of trade, it all changed forever. And it created these immense new systems of power and wealth. And one of the most significant and, frankly, notorious systems that came out of this was the triangular trade. It was basically a three-stage circuit. You had European ships carrying manufactured goods to Africa. There, those goods were exchanged for enslaved people. Those people were then shipped across the Atlantic under just brutal conditions to the Americas, where their forced labor produced raw materials like sugar and silver, which were then shipped right back to Europe. And this chart really lays out the core dynamic of that whole era starkly. The entire system was engineered to do one thing: pull resources out of the colonies and funnel wealth into the European empires. It was a truly global system, sure, but it was one built on a foundation of deep and very long-lasting inequality. Now, the incredible wealth generated by this colonial system, well, it helped fuel the next great leap forward, the Industrial Revolution. And this wasn't just about steam and steel, no. It was a complete rewiring of how we make things and how we move things, and it put global trade into absolute overdrive. Just look at that number dough. It's just staggering. So what's behind it? Well, suddenly you have factories churning out goods on a scale nobody had ever seen before, and they were cheaper than ever. This created this huge global appetite for products, and trade volumes just exploded to keep up. And technology rose to meet that demand. The steamship and the railway, they were total game changers. I mean, a journey that took 2 whole months in 1620, by 1850, you could do it in 10 days. The world was, for all intents and purposes, shrinking, making global trade faster and more reliable than anyone could have dreamed. But you know, maybe the single most important invention for modern trade isn't some powerful engine. It's just a simple metal box. the standardized shipping container. Yeah, it looks kind of boring, but it is an absolute work of genius. By creating one universal format, goods could move from a ship to a train to a truck without ever being unpacked. It cut costs and time so dramatically, it's really the unsung hero of globalization.
And all of that, it brings us to today, right now. We live in a world that's defined by this incredibly complex, interlocking, and honestly often invisible web that brings us everything we own. We call it the global supply chain.
I mean, just look at the phone that's probably in your pocket right now. It's like a tiny United Nations of parts. The software design is American, the screen is South Korean, the chip is from Taiwan, a key mineral comes from the DRC, and it's all snapped together in China. So what you're holding isn't just a device, it's literally a map of the modern world. But here's the catch. This incredible system is also incredibly fragile. The very same interconnectedness that gives us all these cheap and abundant goods, the pros you see right here, well, that also creates shared vulnerabilities. A factory shuts down in one country, and it can halt production in another. A single shipping lane gets blocked, and it can empty shelves halfway around the world. We've all seen how this can play out, right? And it forces us to constantly weigh the benefits of all this efficiency against the huge risks of being so reliant on one another. So when you step back and look at the whole story, from a simple swap between neighbors to this mind-bogglingly complex global market, you see one constant theme running through it all: connection. Trade has never, ever just been about moving things. It's always been about moving ideas, cultures, and people. You could say it's the biggest collaborative project in all of human history. For thousands of years, this simple pursuit of exchange has woven our world into this single, intricate tapestry. It's brought us closer than ever before, for better and for worse. So the great question for our time, I think, is this: as we face all these new global challenges, what new values and ideas will we need to trade to make sure we stay connected?